The sound of glass shattering interrupted my sister's voice. You need to leave. Vanessa. Tonight, Megan stood in my kitchen, arms crossed, while pieces of my favorite coffee mug were scattered on the floor between us. I'm Vanessa, and until just a few minutes ago, I thought I was having a quiet Tuesday evening at home. Now my parents and sister are acting like I'm the problem in some twisted family intervention. This is absurd, I said, grabbing paper towels to clean up the mess. You can't just barge in and tell me to leave my own house. Mom anxiously twisted her hands, perched on the couch as if she were about to run. Dad kept his gaze on the rug beneath his feet, completely avoiding mine. The same rug I bought last year when they moved in, claiming it was only temporary due to financial difficulties. We've talked about this, Megan went on, her voice dripping with self-righteousness. You've had it too easy, living here, working from home while the rest of us are struggling. I straightened up, holding the coffee-soaked paper towels. Excuse me? This is my house. I pay the mortgage. I've let all of you stay here rent-free for a year. And that's exactly the issue, Megan shot back. You've acted like the benevolent one, making us feel small and constantly lording your success over us. It's toxic. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. Toxic? That's rich coming from you. So tell me, where exactly am I supposed to go? That's not our problem, Megan said. We need the space. Mom and Dad need stability, and I need a place to stay after my divorce. You're single and successful. You'll figure it out. My hand began to tremble. Mom? Dad, are you really okay with this? Mom's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Dad cleared his throat. Honey, we think this is for the best. Megan needs us right now, and you've always been so independent. The sting of betrayal was sharp, like a physical blow. 5 years of supporting them, rearranging my life to help them, and this was how they repaid me, by kicking me out of my own house, led by the sister who had always resented my success. You have until tomorrow evening, Megan declared. We'll help you pack. Like hell you will, I shot back, pulling out my phone. I'm calling the cops. This is my property. Actually, Dad finally spoke, his voice low but firm. We've already spoken to a lawyer. Since we've established residency here, you can't force us out without going through proper eviction proceedings. But you can leave on your own. It all clicked into place. They'd been planning this for weeks, maybe longer. While I was working late on client projects, they were scheming to take everything I had worked for. This is insane, I whispered, barely able to get the words out. You're my family. Exactly, Megan said, her lips curling into a faint smile. Family helps family, and right now, you can help by leaving. I looked at each of them, Mom's tear-streaked face, Dad avoiding my gaze, and Megan's smug expression. A cold resolve began to form in my chest. Fine, I said, my voice calm and even surprising them. I'll go, but remember this moment. Remember that you made this choice. Don't be so dramatic, Megan scoffed. We're doing you a favor, teaching you some humility. I walked to my bedroom, their voices fading behind me. My hands were steady as I grabbed my laptop bag and began packing my things. They thought they knew me, the dependable daughter, the successful sister who always did the right thing. But they had no idea what I was capable of. As I methodically packed, I made a silent vow to myself. If they thought they were teaching me a lesson, fine. But lessons work both ways, and I would make sure this one stuck. I could hear their voices from the living room, likely congratulating themselves on their little victory. Let them. They'd learn soon enough that karma always catches up, and I'd make sure it didn't take long. Ethan's spare bedroom felt suffocating, even with my laptop humming away on the borrowed desk. 5 years of memories crashed through my mind as I stared at the screen, trying to focus on work instead of my building anger. You're grinding your teeth again, Ethan said from the doorway, holding out a cup of coffee, steam rising between us. Want to talk about it? About how my family ambushed me last night, or how they've been planning this for weeks while living in my house and eating my food. The coffee was scalding, but I drank it anyway, the burn of relief compared to my anger. Remember when they first moved in? I asked, setting the mug down. Mom called it temporary, just until Dad's retirement funds came through, just until they found a new place. I remember you being excited, Ethan said, leaning against the doorframe. Family dinners, holiday traditions. Yeah, that lasted about 2 weeks, I said, pulling up my banking app. I scrolled through the transactions. emergency expenses, constant renovations they insisted the house needed, and the increasing frequency of Megan's visits, dragging her drama with her. My phone buzzed. Mom again. The third call today. I declined it. They're probably wondering where some of their stuff is, I muttered with a hint of satisfaction. It's amazing how they didn't notice me moving my important documents and changing banks last month. I had a feeling something like this was coming. Smart, Ethan said with a nod. But that doesn't explain why you're looking at old photos instead of working on the Morrison project. I minimized the window he'd noticed. Research. I'm documenting everything. Every penny they borrowed, every bill they promised to pay but didn't, every time they undermined my work or invited people over when I had deadlines. Vanessa, Ethan warned. You didn't see Megan's face last night, I said. This wasn't about needing a place to stay. She took pleasure in it. She's always been this way, you know? When we were younger, she'd break my stuff and convince our parents that it was my fault. When I landed my first design job, she spread rumors that I only got it because I flirted with the boss. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Dad. I pulled up an old photo from 5 years ago, memories flooding in. Look at this, family dinner, all smiles. Then, just 2 days later, Megan showed up with 3 suitcases, claiming her marriage was on a break. She never left. She began moving my furniture around, criticizing my work hours, telling Mom and Dad I was selfish for wanting some peace and quiet to finish my deadlines. What are you plotting? Ethan asked softly. I opened a new folder on my laptop. They think they've won. Poor Vanessa, the successful one, finally knocked down a peg, but they missed something crucial. What's that? Ethan asked, intrigued. I designed websites for most of their friends. I manage social media for the local businesses they rely on. I know more about their finances than they think I do, and I've got proof of it all. Ethan stepped closer, closing the door behind him. This isn't like you, V. You don't do revenge. Maybe it's time I start, I said, turning to face him. Did you know Megan's been snooping through my work files? I found traces of her looking at my client contracts. She's been planning to steal my business contacts, probably offering herself as a cheaper alternative. She's already contacted the Morrison account. Jesus, Ethan muttered. Have you called a lawyer? Better, I said, pulling up another document. I called Uncle Greg's lawyer. Turns out he left me something in his will. They don't know about it yet. My phone buzzed again. A text from Megan. Some of our important papers are missing. What did you do? I showed Ethan the message. See, they're already panicking. They thought I'd just sit back and take it, but I learned something from them last night. What's that? Family helps family, I said, mimicking Megan's words from the night before, and I'm going to make them understand exactly what that means. I closed my laptop, feeling more focused than I had since last night. I need a favor. King helped me move some things into storage. There are a few items in my house I need to grab before they realize what they're really worth. Ethan studied me for a long moment. This isn't going to end well. No, I agree, standing up. But it's going to end exactly how they deserve. The bank statement glowed on my screen like a glaring neon sign of betrayal. Several transfers, all under $5,000, just under the threshold that would trigger alerts, adding up to $47,000 over the past 3 months. Megan's handiwork was unmistakable. She'd always been good with other people's money. A text from Megan lit up my phone. We need to talk about the Morrison account. They're not happy with your recent work. Of course they weren't happy, because Megan had been secretly contacting them, undermining my relationship with my biggest client. I built that account from scratch, spent years earning their trust, and now? The doorbell rang. Through Ethan's window, I saw my mother's car pull into the driveway. Don't answer it, Ethan called from the kitchen. I watched as Mom shifted on the porch, nervously clutching her purse like it was a shield. After 5 minutes, she left a small package by the door and drove off. It's probably just more guilt gifts, I said when Ethan brought the package inside. Like the time she let Megan borrow my car for 3 months and bought me a new coffee maker to make up for it. Inside the package was a framed family photo from last Christmas, along with a note. We miss you. Please come home so we can work this out. My laugh sounded empty even to me. Home. Right. The one they're stealing from me. About that, Ethan said, setting down his coffee. I did some digging. Megan's been telling people you're having a mental breakdown. Says you've been neglecting work, getting paranoid. She's positioning herself to take over your clients. The frame cracked in my grip. Show me, I demanded. He pulled up several emails on his phone, exchanges between Megan and the local business owners I'd worked with for years. My sister's messages were crafted with care, expressing concern about my instability while offering to help maintain continuity with their projects. There's more, Ethan said quietly. Your parents have been telling people they moved in to help you through a tough time. They're painting themselves as the supportive family trying to save you from yourself. The pieces fell together with a horrifying clarity. They weren't just after my house. They were after everything: my reputation, my clients, my entire life. My phone buzzed again. The Morrison client had canceled our upcoming meeting, citing concerns about my personal issues and thanking me for understanding while I explored other options. I need my laptop, I said, rising abruptly. The one from my office. It has all my client files, contracts, everything. Vanessa, wait. But I was already heading for the door. Anger pushed me across town, my footsteps quickening as I neared my house. Megan's car was parked in my spot. I used my key before they could stop me. The living room was completely rearranged. Family photos were gone, replaced by Megan's art. My office door was ajar, and inside. Looking for this? Megan held up my laptop, a smug smile on her face, just like the one she'd worn when they kicked me out. Don't worry, I'm taking good care of your clients. They understand you need some time to yourself. How did you get my passwords? You should be more careful about leaving your password manager open. But then again, you've always been careless with important things, haven't you? Mom appeared in the doorway, wringing her hands. Honey, we're only trying to help. You've been under so much pressure lately. Pressure? My voice was unnervingly calm. You mean like discovering that your sister's been stealing from me? Or finding out that your family is trying to ruin everything I've worked for? Don't be so dramatic, Megan retorted. I'm protecting your clients from your instability. They deserve better than. Her words were drowned out by the sound of crashing glass. I had knocked her precious art piece off the wall, the one she'd been so proud to hang in my living room. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Megan said with a smug grin. These outbursts, this paranoia, you're proving our point. I looked at my mother's nervous expression, at Megan's triumphant smile, and at my laptop, my work for years, clutched in her hands. Something inside me hardened, like ice forming in my veins. You want to see unstable? I pulled out my phone. Let me show you what it really looks like. I had everything, evidence of the transfers, the emails, the lies, and I knew exactly how to use it. They thought they were destroying me. It was time to show them exactly what destruction looked like. 3 days after my confrontation with Megan, the letter from Uncle Greg's lawyer arrived. I sat in Ethan's kitchen, turning the thick envelope over in my hands while my coffee cooled. Are you going to open it? Ethan asked, watching me carefully. The paper felt heavy, official, as if it held something that could change everything. I tore it open, unfolding several pages of legal documents. My hand shook as I read the first paragraph. What is it? Ethan asked, leaning forward. Uncle Greg left me his house, the one on Maple Street. I looked up. The one my parents always wanted. Ethan whistled low. The Victorian? That place is worth over $1 million. I continued reading. Every word hit me like a blow. He knew. Somehow, he had known this would happen. The letter attached to the will made that clear. Dear Vanessa, if you are reading this, then your family has revealed their true intentions. The house is yours with one condition. You must live in it for at least 1 year before you can sell it. Consider it a gift and perhaps a test. Use it wisely. Uncle Greg. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. We need to talk about the family trust. Your mom's worried about some missing papers. They're getting desperate. I showed Ethan the message. They know I have proof of the stolen money, the client interference. They're scrambling to cover their tracks. What are you going to do about the house? Ethan asked. I stood up, pacing. Uncle Greg was always the clever one. He saw through Megan's act years ago. At the last family reunion, he called her a master manipulator. Everyone thought he was being cruel, but he was warning us. Another text popped up, this one from an unknown number. It was a photo of documents scattered across my old office desk. Client contracts, bank statements, tax records. Megan's message followed. Wouldn't want these getting lost, would we? Come alone tonight. We can work something out. Don't go, Ethan said immediately. It's a trap. Of course it is, I said, pulling up the lawyer's contact info. But she doesn't know about Uncle Greg's will yet, or the recording I made of her admitting to the theft. Vanessa. Ethan's voice had a note of concern I was growing tired of hearing. This isn't just about the house anymore, is it? I stopped pacing, looking at the family photos still sitting on his counter. The perfect lie, frozen in time. They're not just after my house or my business, I said. They're trying to erase me and replace me with their version of who I should be, and revenge won't fix that. No, I said, picking up Uncle Greg's letter again. But justice might. I dialed the lawyer's number, my voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through me. Hello, this is Vanessa Mitchell. I need to discuss executing Uncle Greg's will immediately, and I have evidence of financial fraud I'd like to review with you. Ethan watched as I set the meeting. After I hung up, he asked, What about tonight? Megan's threat. Oh, I'll be there, I said, pulling up my email to start typing. But first, I'm sending copies of everything. The bank records, the client correspondence, her confession, to every board member at her husband's company, the one she's trying to get alimony from. Jesus. And then, I added, I'm going to forward proof of her embezzlement to every client she's contacted. Let them see who they're really dealing with. My phone buzzed again. It was Mom this time. Please, honey, we can work this out as a family. Family, the word had lost its meaning. Or maybe it was finally showing its true face, one Uncle Greg had seen all along. I muttered to myself more than to Ethan. He left me the house because he knew they'd try to take everything else. He was giving me a foundation to fight back from. I glanced at the time, 6 hours until my meeting with Megan. 6 hours to set everything in motion. Are you really going to do this? Ethan asked. Burn every bridge. I thought about Megan's smug face as she held my laptop, about Mom's enabling, Dad's cowardice, about 5 years of subtle undermining, calculated theft, and systematic destruction. They're not bridges anymore, I said, grabbing my things. They're weapons, and it's time to show my family exactly how well they taught me to use them. The truth would cost them everything, their reputations, their social standing, their carefully built lies, just like they tried to take everything from me. Uncle Greg would have approved. The first email arrived. The Morrison account had canceled. Then the others came flooding in, client after client, each one referencing my personal issues or professional concerns. Megan's words echoing from different voices. I checked my bank accounts. Every single one was frozen. She's trying to starve you out, Ethan observed, watching me pace across his living room. She wants to force you to come crawling back. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. The family trust meeting is tomorrow. You need to be there. Trust meeting? Ethan asked, looking confused. There's no trust, I snapped, still pacing. It's just another lie. They're probably trying to get me declared incompetent or pull some other desperate move. Another email pinged in. Megan's divorce lawyer requesting an emergency deposition regarding my knowledge of certain financial matters. The pieces clicked into place. She was using my clients as leverage. Either I played along with whatever story she was feeding her ex-husband's lawyers, or she'd ruin my career for good. Then my laptop chimed, a video call request from Mom. I clicked it without thinking, and there they all were, sitting in my former living room like a twisted family gathering. Honey, Mom began, her voice dripping with concern, we're really worried about you. Cut the act, I interrupted. I know exactly what you're all doing. Do you? Megan leaned into the frame with a sly smile. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're having some sort of breakdown, sending angry emails to clients, making wild accusations about theft. The proof is already with my lawyer. What proof? Dad demanded, his voice harsh. The documents you took from the house. I let out a dry, humorless laugh. Stole? That's rich, coming from the people. Whoa. Who took you in? Megan interrupted. Who supported you when your business was struggling? That's what family does, Vanessa. We help each other, and right now, you need help. Her words twisted around me, and for a moment, I felt dizzy. How many times had she done this, turned everything upside down, until I questioned my own memories? The trust meeting, I said slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. What's it really about? Protection, Dad replied, speaking for all of them, including you. At that moment, an email notification popped up on my screen, an email from Uncle Greg's lawyer. I opened it while they continued talking, scanning it quickly. My hands began to tremble. The house on Maple Street, I said, cutting through their worried voices. That's what this is really about, isn't it? Their silence was all the answer I needed. Uncle Greg left it to me. Not to the family. Not to you, Megan. Me? Megan's tone was filled with disbelief. You're not thinking clearly. That house was always meant for me, I said, just like my clients were meant for you. Just like my money was meant for you. Vanessa, Mom pleaded, just come to the meeting. We can sort this out as a family. I looked at their faces on the screen, Mom's practiced concern, Dad's calculated indifference, Megan's barely hidden satisfaction. They thought they had me trapped. You know what? I said, grabbing my keys. You're right. Let's meet now. Now's not a good time, Megan began, but I was already heading toward the door. Either you meet me at Uncle Greg's house in 30 minutes, or I send everything. The bank records, the client emails, the recordings to every newspaper in town. Your choice. I hung up before they could respond. Ethan was right behind me as I headed for my car. This feels like walking into a trap, he said quietly. No, I said, starting the engine. This is setting one. A text from Megan buzzed in. You're making a mistake. I thought about Uncle Greg's letter, his warning, his recognition of their true colors, how he had known exactly how it would all play out. Coming? I asked Ethan. Without hesitation, he climbed in beside me. Someone needs to witness whatever's about to go down. I drove out of the neighborhood, heading toward Maple Street and the Victorian house that had set everything in motion, toward the family who thought they could erase me and the sister who had orchestrated it all. You realize there's no turning back from this, Ethan said softly. I gripped the steering wheel, watching the familiar streets blur past. They burned that bridge when they tried to destroy me. Now they get to watch it burn to the ground. Up ahead, the Victorian house loomed. Its windows were dark, staring back at us like eyes, waiting. It seemed to know exactly what was coming. It was time to show my family exactly what they had created. Uncle Greg's Victorian stood before us, its windows reflecting the fading sunlight like accusatory eyes. My family's cars were already parked in front. They'd arrived early, likely to strategize. Last chance to back out, Ethan said as we approached the front door. I pulled the key Uncle Greg's lawyer had given me from my pocket. They've taken everything else. They're not getting this. Inside, voices echoed from the study. I followed the sounds, each step on the old hardwood floor resounding like a warning. When I entered, the conversation stopped abruptly. Megan was sitting behind Uncle Greg's desk, acting like she owned the place. Mom and Dad stood by, flanking her like loyal followers. The family portrait above the fireplace seemed to mock us, and Uncle Greg's smile now felt almost prophetic. Well, Megan sneered. I see you brought an audience. I brought a witness, I said, standing tall. Where are the trust documents? Dad demanded. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the files, bank transfers, client emails, recordings. Should we start there? We should start, Megan cut in, pulling a folder from the desk and sliding out a document. A petition for emergency conservatorship. My world tilted slightly. What? I said, my voice rising in disbelief. You're having a breakdown. You're going to accuse me of erratic behavior, of paranoid threats, of endangering the family. You're worried about me? You can't be serious, I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. 3 mental health professionals have already reviewed your actions, Dad said softly. They're very concerned. I stared at their faces, their practiced expressions of concern, their feigned worry. This had always been the plan. Take my house, my business, and when I fought back, when they started throwing wild accusations and threatening to tear the family apart. Megan interrupted. We're trying to help you. By having me declared incompetent. I laughed, the sound coming out hollow. Let me guess. You'll take over managing my affairs, including Uncle Greg's house. Mom spoke up. The house should stay in the family. You're not stable enough to manage it, Megan said, pushing the papers toward me. Sign the papers and we'll take care of everything. Your clients, your finances, the house. We'll handle it all while you get better. I looked at the documents in front of me, signed by doctors I didn't know, Evaluations written by people who'd never seen my behavior. They thought of everything. You know what's interesting? I said, my voice more controlled than I felt. Uncle Greg left a letter with his will. Want to know what it said? That's irrelevant, Megan began, but I interrupted her. He knew you'd pull something like this. That's why he added a clause. If anyone challenges my ownership or tries to declare me unfit, the house goes to charity. Everything goes to charity. The silence that followed was deafening. You're lying, Megan said, but there was doubt in her voice now. Call the lawyer. He's waiting for my signal. One word from me and everything. The bank records, the recordings, Uncle Greg's letter, goes public. How do you think that will look for your divorce settlement, Megan? Or Dad's reputation in the engineering world? Or Mom's social standing? You wouldn't, Mom whispered. We're your family. Family? I slammed my hands down on the desk. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't manipulate. Family doesn't try to have you declared insane just because you caught them in their lies. I've got proof of every penny you stole, I said, watching Megan's face lose color. Every client you contacted, every lie you told. Sign those conservatorship papers and it all goes public. Fight me for this house and the world will know who you really are. Megan stood up slowly. You think you've won. Even if you keep the house, you've lost everything else. Your clients won't return. Your reputation is exactly what you made of it. I took a step back. Congratulations. You wanted to destroy me. Mission accomplished. But I'm taking you all down with me. I turned to leave, but Megan's voice stopped me. Wait. There's something you don't know about Uncle Greg. About why he really left you the house. I turned back, seeing something I hadn't noticed before. Fear in my sister's eyes. The truth is, she said, he had another will. One that changes everything. The room had grown completely dark now, with only the dim light of the desk lamp casting shadows. Somewhere in the house, a clock struck the hour, each chime sounding like a countdown. The grandfather clock in Uncle Greg's study chimed midnight as Megan pulled out an old, yellowed envelope from the desk drawer. My parents shifted uncomfortably in their chairs, exchanging nervous glances that made alarm bells go off in my head. Before you read this, Megan said, her voice soft but strained. Remember, everything we did was to protect you. I grabbed the envelope before she could change her mind. Inside was a letter dated 3 days before Uncle Greg's death, written in his familiar handwriting. Dear Megan, I began to read aloud, then stopped. The room seemed to tilt. Keep reading, Megan urged. Everyone needs to hear this. Dear Megan, if you're reading this, then Vanessa has discovered the truth about the house and about the family's involvement in Jonathan's death. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. Jonathan, my fiancé, who had died in a car accident 5 years ago, right before my parents moved in. What is this? My voice didn't sound like my own. Dad stood up, his face suddenly grave. We should have told you sooner. Jonathan. He was investigating the family trust. He found discrepancies. He was going to expose everything. Megan added, the missing funds, the tax fraud, all of it. We tried to reason with him, but what? The letter crumpled in my hand. What did you do? It was an accident, Mom whispered. We just wanted to talk to him. That night, the road was wet. The room spun. Ethan caught my arm as I stumbled backward. You killed him. The words broke through my throat, sharp and jagged. And then you moved in with me. Watched me grieve. Used my guilt to control me. We protected you, Megan said, standing up, her calm finally cracking. If Jonathan had gone public, we would have lost everything, the family name, our reputation, your reputation. I laughed bitterly. That's why you've spent 5 years manipulating me, stealing from me, trying to destroy me. Uncle Greg knew, Dad said quietly. He threatened to tell you everything unless we signed over the family assets to him. That's why he left you the house. His final revenge against us. I glanced at the family portrait above the fireplace. Uncle Greg's smile seemed different now, not just knowing, but regretful. He tried to protect me in his own way, giving me the means to fight back without revealing the awful truth. The conservatorship papers, I said slowly, you're not just trying to take the house. You're trying to silence me, just like you silenced Jonathan. Megan stepped forward. We're family, Vanessa. Everything we did was for the family. I pulled out my phone, my fingers hovering over the screen. Let me show you what family means to me. I pressed send. Seconds later, their phones began buzzing. What did you do? Megan grabbed her phone, her face draining of color. Everything, I said, my voice cold. The bank records, the client thefts, the recordings, and now this conversation about Jonathan. I just sent it all to every news outlet in the state. You're bluffing, Dad said, but his phone kept buzzing with notifications. Uncle Greg left me more than the house. I continued, he left me the truth and a choice about what I do with it. Megan lunged toward me, but Ethan stepped in between us. It's over, he said, his voice firm. Outside, I could see police lights flashing through the study windows, reflecting off the Victorian's dark windows. Of course, Uncle Greg had planned for this. His lawyer must have been waiting for my signal. You know what's ironic? I glanced at them, strangers wearing my family's faces. I spent all this time scheming, thinking revenge would bring justice. But this is karma. The front door crashed open, and officers flooded in, reading rights and securing the scene. I watched as the life they'd built, piece by piece, came undone, and I felt a strange, hollow peace settle over me. Vanessa, Mom called as they escorted her away. We really did love you. I touched the letter in my pocket, not the one Megan wrote, but the real one from Uncle Greg. The truth will hurt, but lies destroy. Choose wisdom over vengeance, niece. Some families are born into, others we build from the ashes of what burns away. I stepped out into the night, leaving behind the Victorian and its shadows. In the distance, sirens wailed, a requiem for the family I'd lost twice, once to death and once to truth. The Victorian front door creaked as I pushed it open, the morning light spilling over the dusty hardwood floors. 6 weeks of legal battles had left the house untouched, preserved like a museum of broken promises. Ethan followed me inside, carrying boxes. You sure about this? He asked. I ran my hand along the banister, feeling the smooth wood beneath my fingers. Uncle Greg wanted me to live here for a year. He said it was part of the lesson. The morning paper lay on the kitchen counter. Yesterday's headline still stood out, Mitchell family fraud scandal. Guilty pleas entered. Beneath it, a smaller article mentioned that the Morrison account had returned to my redesigned company. Found something, Ethan called from the study. In Uncle Greg's desk drawer, I found a stack of photographs. Me at my college graduation, my first design award, Jonathan and I at our engagement party, and one I'd never seen before. Uncle Greg and Jonathan in deep conversation at a family barbecue, both looking serious. He was helping Jonathan investigate. I said, the pieces falling into place. That's how he knew everything. There's more, Ethan said, handing me an envelope. Uncle Greg's handwriting was visible through the paper, to be opened when you understand the difference between revenge and justice. I read aloud. Inside was a single sheet, not a letter, but a deed to a small creative arts foundation established in Jonathan's name, funded by the family's seized assets. Look at the trustee's name, Ethan said quietly. My hands shook. The foundation's trustee was me. The doorbell rang, startling us both. Through the frosted glass, I recognized the police detective's silhouette. Miss Mitchell, she said when I opened the door. There's been a development. Your sister wants to make a full confession about everything. Why now? I asked. She said something about karma and about wanting to choose truth over family. For the first time, I thought about Megan sitting in a cell, finally facing the weight of her choices, and about Mom and Dad, their world of lies crumbling under the truth of their own actions. Will you hear her confession? The detective asked. No, I replied, looking around at the Victorian. Its tall ceilings, its quiet dignity. I already know the truth. What she does with it now is her karma, not mine. After the detective left, I found myself back in Uncle Greg's study, staring at his portrait. The foundation papers felt heavy in my hands, not a weapon of vengeance, but a tool for transformation. You knew, I said to his painted smile. You knew I'd have to choose between destroying them and building something new. Ethan appeared in the doorway. The movers are here. Want me to tell them where everything goes? Actually, I looked down at the foundation papers again. I've got a different idea. The Victorian had plenty of space for art studios. Its parlor could host galleries. The sprawling garden could welcome students. You're going to turn it into the foundation's headquarters, Ethan realized. Not just that. I pulled out my phone and showed him the email I drafted. I'm offering art therapy programs, starting with prison outreach. Understanding dawned on his face. You're going to help Megan. No, I said, placing the foundation papers on Uncle Greg's desk next to the photo of him and Jonathan. I'm going to help anyone who needs to find their way back from darkness, including myself. The movers began bringing in boxes, their footsteps echoing through the house like a heartbeat, breathing life into it once again. Each box contained art supplies, not furniture, tools for creation, not destruction. Uncle Greg said some families we build from ashes. I told Ethan. He was right, but he forgot something important. What's that? I opened the curtains, letting sunlight pour into the room. Sometimes the family we rebuild is ourselves. Outside, a moving truck pulled up, filled with easels and canvases. Inside, dust motes danced in the sunlight, catching rays like scattered hopes finding their way home. The Victorian wasn't just a house anymore. It had become a symbol of the fragile line between vengeance and redemption, between the family we inherit and the one we choose to build. I picked up a blank canvas, feeling its potential under my fingers. Time to paint something new. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.